Welcome everybody to the DC New 52 review. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode. I am your host, Paulie DC, and let's get into another one of these things. Today, I will review Red Lanterns Vol.2. It was titled Death of the Red Lanterns, and it was written by Peter Milligan with art by Miguel Sepulveda, with issues 8 to 12 being released between June and October of 2012. The New 52 was the first and only event to give the Red Lantern Corps an ongoing series, and it threw the group right into the mix with the greens, blues, violets, yellows, indigos, and oranges, with the Volume 1 cast consisting of leader Atrocitus, second in command Bleeze, newcomer Jack Moore, the only human member, then we got Scalox, Ratchet, Zilius Zox, and Dexstar the Cat Familiar. Now, before I begin, it's important to mention that Atrocitus was in mid-battle with an enemy called Abysmus at the end of the first book, and he has appeared to lose in lethal fashion, so that is where we shall continue. Issue number 8 has art by Andres Guilando and Jorge Jimenez, picking up 2 hours before Abysmus attempted his fatal stabbing of his quote-unquote dad, and he's seen at the magical blood ocean of Red Lantern headquarters planet Yesmalt, which is where the group's central battery is, so Abysmus rips out one of his rotten rib bones to place it inside, which begins to destroy it with decay. Also, the mention of Atrocitus having created the Red Central Battery with the blood of his own goes back to the massacre of Sector 666, and the survivors being called the Five Inversions, becoming singular when Atroci killed the 4 others of his race, using their flesh to create his rage-fueled core. Moving up to real time, Jack has just freshly arrived to witness Atrocitus at a moment he probably wished to keep private, and Jack also has to warn Abysmus and his Abysmorphs about attacking him, but when he tries to state who he is, all he can get out is the 2 syllables Ran and Core, so that will be his title from now on. This warning does get Abysmus to back off, however Zilius Zox, Ratchet, and Dexstar show up thinking Jack attacked their leader, but Atrocitus is able to unstake himself and settle things down before a fight ensues, which is a good thing since they all have much bigger concerns as one member's red ring decays away, thus killing him, and this has the others thinking Rancor is responsible, so Zilius Zox attacks now, forcing the first ever human RL to prove why he's different after producing a red construct, an impressive one at that too. I'm gonna say this as well, it's a bit hard to see, but the one member who sort of looks like a female juggalo was seen with Bleeze's mutiny group in issue number 7, but she's here now. Yes, it bothers me, but I say it because as for the blue-eyed Bleeze, her eyes change color often, she's running a new crew that's got spies on her boss, yet the female one I pointed out is in 2 places at once. Anyway, Bleeze is told that an Earthling received a red ring, so she sends Scalox to the Sun's 3rd planet to investigate, which is exactly what Green Lantern Guy Gardner is already doing with an interrogation of Baxter the Mugger, aka a big catalyst in Jack's Red Lantern admission. Back to Yesmalt, Abysmus and his kin have somehow found themselves a spaceship once belonging to Iraq, or Indigo 1 of the, well, you can figure it out, and they use it to head out to space while saying they have a new master. But to finish, Jack is fending Zilius off right before Atrocitus, feeling much weaker than ever, discovers the Red Lantern Central Battery as a rotten mess. Issue number 9 has art duties changing hands to Tomas Giorello, beginning with Bleeze and her group dealing out some Red Lantern raging revenge as she plans for making a big power move. Rancor is still standing his ground and confusing the other Reds with his constructs until Atrocitus returns to rally everyone and then break the news that their central battery is dying. That's very bad because Bleeze and her squad arrive to attack, allowing the only time we'll see the RLC battle amongst themselves due to Rancor breaking things up with an authoritative display which has Atrocitus and Bleeze realizing not only is the central battery rotting away, but so is Ysmalt itself withering away slowly. If you're also wondering what uncouth means when Bleeze mentions her time with my fave GL Kyle Rayner from Green Lantern New Guardians, it's another word for unrefined or uncultured. Jack next decides to split on his own, where it's noticed his life is dependent on the red ring he now wears, except that may not be enough anymore after he finds another of his new comrades dead from the central battery problem. Speaking of, the one responsible for that, Abysmus, is jumped to during his arrival to an ice planet that he takes over from its inhabitants and says he will wait here until his new master rewards him. Ending on Ysmalt, the biggest loss to happen so far is the mystical blood ocean drying up and faltering, which requires Atrocitus to make the announcement that their home planet must be abandoned. Plus, he knows whoever assisted Abysmus is still out there, garnering suspicions about Sinestro from Ratchet, but he's busy shutting down his own Yellow Lanterns. Then Invictus is brought up, however Bleeze dealt with him in GLNG Vol.1, meaning her suggestion that the Star Sapphires, or Violet Lantern Corps, being the culprits is given the most merit. Why? I don't know and I don't care. The last couple pages then have Atrocitus rallying his corps, and this double-page spread could have contained a huge group of creatively drawn Red Lanterns. Instead, there were 7. Missed opportunity if you ask me. Stormwatch number 9 was included here because Peter Milligan also had writing duties on that title during these months, so I will cover this edition in full when I review the series Volume 2, but for what's important here, Scalox has made it to Earth, with Stormwatch being the first to notice him, which has members Apollo and my personal favorite Midnighter meeting him head-on. Scalox even puts up a good fight against these two heavy hitters, starting on a napalm blast to Apollo's face and also landing a couple blows on Midnighter, an impressive feat if you know anything about that character, but he ends the battle after hacking off Scalox's Red Lantern ring arm, which completely subdues him, leading into his body being taken to Stormwatch's space base, the Eye of the Storm, for test tube observation. Except his ring has other plans, breaking out from its confinements, and right before it is stopped, it had appeared to almost select Midnighter due to his excessive rage seen over the New 52. Oh, what could have been. Issue number 10 begins with more Red Lantern and Stormwatch action, but first, Rancor is among the large group alongside Bleeze, and a couple Reds are still attacking him, forcing a fatal display of rage to be sent out, finally making it clear he's not to be effed with, so now it's officially time to invade the Star Sapphire's homeworld. Cutting to Atrocitus, he and Dexstar have tracked the missing Scalox to Stormwatch's Eye of the Storm ship, which is hidden in hyperspace. No problem, because Atroci napalm breath burns his way through the fabrics of space-time. Huh, who knew he could do that? Seems sort of impossible. Anyway, the SW team of Engineer, Apollo, Jack Hawksmoor, Jenny Quantum, Midnighter, and Martian Manhunter Jaon Jones are doing tests on Scalox until suddenly interrupted by Atrocitus, smashing inside their thought to be impenetrable base, causing them all some serious surprise, and Atroso quickly gets a signal on the Red Lantern ring aboard. However, he's got to contend with Martian Manhunter, Apollo, and Midnighter, who use their teleport tech called Doors to ambush him. Except they can't stop Atrocitus because his rage is reaching gargantuan levels right now. Just the fact that he can take this trio on should be remembered. I mean, he just took a full-on punch from a being that's said to be on Superman's level of power and barely cares. Midnighter ducks out though, so he can, I guess, comedically punch Dexstar the Cat square in the face, and this allows a chance for to psychically connect with Atrocitus, viewing his past of hating the Green Lanterns, doing battle with Abysmus, ushering in the death of the Red Central Battery, and of course the massacre of Sector 666 carried out by Guardians of the Universe invention, the Manhunter robots. Thought it was kind of funny that John only calls them merciless robots here instead, since Manhunter is part of his title as well. He wants no association to them. Everything kinda wraps up though after Scalox's ring returns to him, and because Engineer finds out the Red Lantern Corps is dying, she allows them to leave, knowing Atrocitus has bigger problems at hand. But he does give warning that he'll return someday. Weird thing is, Scalox doesn't look to be wearing his ring here, meaning he should not be alive. Issue number 11 opens with Guy Gardner leading a detail of Green Lanterns to check up on Yasmalt, which is said to be in Space Sector 2814, but in Volume 1 it was in Sector 666. I'd say whatever, but this is a pretty big inaccuracy. Mr. Milligan, get your shit together, please. Anyhow, Gardner and the two other GLs find only dead Red Lanterns on the planet, which is dying very, very fast. Over to Zamaron, also known as Violet Lantern Headquarters, it is seen that Bleeze, Ratchet, Zilius Zox, and a few other Reds are prisoners of the Star Sapphires due to them spotting our titular corps approaching their world and sneak attacking them before they could strike. I am kinda pissed we didn't get a fight scene between the two groups though. What is given here is Bleeze's Green Lantern New Guardians teammate Fatality, or Yira, a higher up in the Violets, becoming curious as to why all the Lantern Corps are currently having major problems, and good for her on noticing that because she may be one of the first to notice this. She also offers only the female RLs a chance to switch sides, which has Zilius yelling about misandry, but Belize is raging at the thought of Star Sapphire assistance breaking loose and taking on Fatality, wherein she immediately spreads some of her blood into Yira's veins, wanting to become blood sisters. Yeesh. Before this quandary can be resolved, a little flashback to the Violet Lanterns capturing the Reds is seen. However, Rancor escaped in unexplained manner, winding up completely in empty space. Okay? Regardless, he zips through the stars looking for anything, and obviously, against all odds, the first thing he finds is a floating graveyard containing dozens of his new but now expired teammates. Cutting back to Bleeze, she's currently being encased inside a sapphire crystal dome with Fatality, and the use of her bone wings here as a weapon was really cool. What's not is Bleeze's face reveal, in my opinion at least. When I pictured her without the mask, 90s Jamie Lee Curtis isn't what I had. Rounding out on Atrocitus, he's tearing across multiple space sectors with Scalox, who's missing half an arm here, yet at issue 10's conclusion he clearly had both. Atrocity has spent enough time searching for answers, though, and decides to stop for a blood sacrifice prophecy on a tyrant lord of planet Achaemedes, but it turns out unnecessary because, wouldn't you know it, Abysmus in Mega Evolved Monster Mode is also on this planet, leaping out to attack Dexstar and Scalox, then snare Atrocitus with internal organs. Wowza. Issue number 12 concludes this book, continuing the battle between Abysmus and Atrocitus, who loses his distinctive helmet, reminding you that he kinda looks like Red Skull without it. Then, as Abyssi does the classic antagonist speech about why he's exacting revenge instead of just carrying it out swiftly, Dexstar tries to defend his master to no avail. However, it gives Atrocitus the chance for one final gambit, which is sending a huge signal flare into space. But that almost depletes his ring of all of its power. Luckily though, Rancor, somehow in a way I will not be bothering to figure out, sees the distress beacon, while across the universe, many of the Reds are also seen being preyed on and killed due to their severely weakened status. Guess their luck ain't as solid. Jackie Boy briskly arrives to help his new leader though, firstly by displaying a big construct of all the Reds that lost their lives to Abysmus because of his doing, which for some reason has him suddenly feeling sorry for them and frantically admitting that the Guardians of the Universe put him up to his recent deeds. The little blue guys were planning malevolent things in quite a Machiavellian manner since the New 52's beginning. Anyway, Atrocitus next reveals a blood prophecy he did long ago, predicted the Red Lantern Central Battery may die someday, so he planted pretty much a top-level revival health pack inside Abysmus that looks to be his heart, that is filled with blood of the 4 inversions and is ripped out, thus killing him and leaving the body for Dexstar to finish up with. Yismalt is then returned to by Rancor and Atrocitus, so the heart can be fed to the Red Central Battery in order to restore it. This felt like a bit of a cop-out, but was definitely gruesomely badass as well. The Red Power Resurgence brings new energy all the way to Zamaron, where Fatality is currently offering Bleeze an opportunity to join the Violets while Zilius shouts in contempt, and finally breaks free as we see more Red Lanterns regaining their strength and once again becoming the Predators, with Bleeze giving the big finale that involves using her napalm breath to incinerate the Star Sapphire ring produced to her. Many RLs start returning to Yismalt after this, and they have the blood of guilty beings from many worlds, and it is used to fuel their core before Jack's ring eerily speaks to him. But to end, the mass bleeding that's going down on the planet now is feeding the 4 inversions below who are ready for a return. Alright. Starting on the plot, it was smooth sailing from end to end. Rancor transitioning into a Red Lantern, Abysmus being the group's first real enemy who caused irreversible damage while getting involved in the overarching plight all the color cores were going through early on. The Stormwatch inclusions actually fit in really well, allowing Atrocitus to show his real power and battle some worthwhile adversaries. Then of course, Bleeze continued to be a fantastic female character that got some solid development throughout. Her encounter with the Star Sapphires was a star moment in the entire series, however, please don't ask me to map out her timeline between here and the Green Lantern New Guardians. Please. Moving over to art, we were blitzed with a bloody barrage of wicked action sequences. I can't say enough good things about the images put forth for the Violet and Red Lantern encounter. The RLs themselves were vile and ferocious looking, albeit I wish there had been more pages featuring widespreads of lots of the members. Get the creative character designs running wild. Lastly, for dialogue, it seems it would be hard to write Atrocitus being just the epitome and embodiment of rage. However, he had other traits that could have been built on with the way the story was going. Blee's and Fatality's confrontation held some great back and forth talk between them. Zilius and Scallox were actually getting unique personalities. And lastly, Jack's internal speech as he fully transitioned into a Red was the best part. His realization, then acceptance, and finally assertiveness made him a perfect new addition. That's gonna wrap up this review for today though, and if you've watched until the end here, I want to personally thank you for that, and to please like, share, and subscribe. Please follow me on all my social media platforms, and to please join me next time for Green Lantern New Guardians Vol.2.